welcome back again. So now that you know a little bit more about managing finances and that sort of thing, let's talk a little bit about what to offer in terms of services and how to charge for those offerings and how to think outside of the box in terms of what you want to offer your yoga community. So first things first, what kinds of things can you offer as a yoga teacher? Maybe money's not a priority for you in your teachings, and that's totally understandable. If this is your part-time gig, or even if it's your full-time gig, but you're not striving for kind of financial sustainability or to be rich and wealthy and not worry about money. I think we all would like to not worry about money and be financially sustainable. So when I talk about maybe more lucrative or more financially beneficial offerings, I hope that that doesn't create any stickiness within you, but I will probably reference that because I want to get you starting to think about how to be financially sustainable and not burn yourself out as a yoga teacher. I've included a PDF of offerings and as a resource for you so that you can start to look at some of these different types of offerings and what maybe some of their pros and cons might be. So I encourage you to take a look at that after this video. My goal with this list of offerings that I've provided you is so that you can start thinking maybe a little bit more in terms of how you can make more money and be a bit more lucrative in your classes instead of just teaching in studio environments. While that's a totally viable option, much of the feedback that I get from yoga teachers who teach solely in studio atmospheres is that they're running around, they're sort of studio hopping. If you're in a city, that's a lot of running around back and forth. They're having to teach, 6 days a week, and it can cause burnout. It sounds exhausting, to be honest. But and maybe they're not even making that much money because the studios have very high overhead. So it's tough to be sustainable as a studio. So I imagine, that most of these places can't afford to pay the teachers a ton of money, especially if it depends on headcount in the studio. So it can be a very viable option, and it's a good option. I'm not discouraging anyone from teaching in a studio, but I want people to start thinking about some other options. So maybe you can do something else on the side of teaching at a studio to bring in a little bit more money for yourself. There are so many ways that you can make a sustainable career out of teaching yoga. So you can start to think about teaching maybe private clients, you can teach partner groups, you can teach specialty workshops, you can teach series of classes, so maybe like an 8-week program of something. You can do retreats, you can do specialty retreats, like including maybe bridal parties or something like that. So there's lots of different ways. You can bring your yoga teaching online, creating online programs. Technology has given us this beautiful gift of connecting with people anywhere in the world. So there's so many options, and we're going to get into a little bit more of those later on in Module 2 when we start to talk about what your strengths are and what you enjoy doing as a teacher so that we can hone out kind of what offerings we want to focus on. So when we start to think about our services and our offerings, we need to sort of determine a rate and how to charge people for these services. So let's cringe about that and then let's move on again and let's talk about how to charge fairly, because it's really, really, really deeply important to me. And the same goes in the design industry. We're usually undervaluing ourselves all the time and we're selling ourselves short. And the main point that I want to get across to you is that we need to start valuing ourselves before other people can value us, because if we don't have the confidence and the value to charge fairly, then they're not going to value or care much about our services. They may pay for our services, but they're not going to value them as much as if they're investing the proper amount or the fair amount of money into us providing them a service. So instead of feeling guilty about charging, say, $100 for a private session that lasts an hour long, let's start thinking about how we can add value to our service instead of taking value away and having just this cookie cutter 1-hour session. So yes, charge the $100 per hour or whatever your going rate is in your community. Definitely research this. $100 may be too much for your community, or it may not be enough if you're in a city or something like that. But look up the going rate, charge your going rate, be confident in charging your going rate, but let's see how we can add value so that the customer, the client, or the student feels like they're getting bang for their buck, essentially. So maybe in a private session, you have your standard sequence that you work through with your client, but what else can you add to that hour? Can you add a customized gift for them signing up? Can you add, a program or a homework sequence that they can do at home? Maybe record their session, give them a guided meditation recording, something that's very kind of simple on your end, but would mean a lot to them. So the same theory goes for group classes. Do you do adjustments to your students when you're in a group? Maybe that's something you could start. Or perhaps you have a really kick-ass playlist that you've played, and at the end of class, maybe collect some emails and say, I'm going to send out my playlist. If anybody wants to sign up with their email, go ahead and sign up, and I'm going to send out this playlist that you can use at home when you're doing yoga at home. And that's also a really great way to get emails and get them to sign up maybe for an email list of some sorts if you're building that. But a good way to offer value nonetheless. There are tons of ways to give back to your yoga community, your students, and your clients. And instead of devaluing yourself, just provide more value for your client and have them be able to value you more. Once you can cater to that value and you can show people what an awesome experience you can provide them, the word of mouth marketing is going to be the best tool that you can have. So the best thing you can do, like I said before, is to just start teaching. Think about these things as you go. It's going to be trial and error for a while. It's going to be hit or miss, but you need to just start, because without starting, you can't get any results, and without any results, you can't make any changes and you can't analyze what's working and what's not. So once you're finished this video, go ahead and take some time, do some research to see what people in your area are charging. You can just Google the terms, like if you're in Toronto, yoga rates, or Toronto private yoga rate classes, or something like that, so that you can get a better idea about your rates. And you'll want to make sure you look through the worksheets as well, so that you can see what can help you out in this charging of students area, to see if there's any resources that you can take a look at. So once you've finished all your worksheets and you've finished looking at the notes and you've finished with this video, we're going to move on over to the next video, and we're going to dig into the good stuff, which is branding. We're ready to get there, and I'm so excited. All right, I'll see you over there.